In this video, I'm taking one basic floor plan and rebuilding it across 3 completely different levels of complexity, from clean graphic clarity to atmospheric presentation to full professional documentation. But why do some plans look powerful with almost nothing while others feel messy even with everything? The real difference isn't software. It's the question the drawing is answering. Now, I've spent years teaching architectural representation, and what I've realized is this: the strongest drawings are not the most detailed ones, they are the ones that know exactly what problem they are solving. Alright, now before we do anything cool, we need to do something useful, because this is what most floor plans look like at the start, right? A PDF with walls and some furniture. It's not bad, it's just flat. And here's the problem: if your plan is flat, your viewer has to work to understand it, and nobody wants homework these days. So level 1 is about answering the most important question a floor plan can answer. Can someone understand this instantly? Now, I'll import my PDF into Illustrator. And if you're starting from a disorganized file where everything sits in one layer like this one, the first step is organization. So I'll select all my walls. I'll press Ctrl X. I'll create a layer called walls and paste them inside with Ctrl F. And after organizing, your file should look something like this: walls, windows, doors and stairs, fixed furniture, and movable furniture. Next, I'll create a line reference scale using 6 strokes and lock this as a visual guide. Now, the key concept here is ranking importance. Structure first, circulation second, occupation third, and context last. So, for example, cut elements like walls will receive the strongest line weight, which in this case is 1 point. So windows, doors, and stairs get a 30 points, with inner detailing being a little bit thinner. And fixed furniture sits around 0.25, and movable furniture around 0.15 or sometimes 0.08. The numeric values matter less, here than the hierarchy itself. Watch what happens when hierarchy appears. The geometry becomes architecture, and suddenly you can see this floor plan with a different set of eyes. Next, I'm going to make the furniture style consistent, because mismatched furniture can kill a drawing very quickly. So I already have some tables, chairs, sofas, and cabinetry, but I want more detail to bring life and activity into the plan. So for this, you can use whatever blocks you have available. I'll specifically use these blocks that we created called the Maximalist Home Top View blocks. Some of you may know them. And I'll copy them and paste them into my file. And then I'm going to start just going crazy and placing them all throughout the house. Now, we don't want to oversaturate the plan or make the furniture feel more important than the architecture. That's why I keep these detailed furniture elements at a line width of about 0.08. And after spending some time adding detailed furniture, you can see how much interest and depth it adds to the floor plan. Before, it looked like a plan with generic furniture, and now it feels like a drawing you want to zoom into and explore. Next, we want to add floor textures. To do this, select your floor geometry, go to the fill panel, and you can load any default Illustrator patterns, which can work well in many situations. And here I prefer to use patterns that we've created as well in-house for more variety and control. So I'll import these patterns from my pattern pack and select the one that fits best, which I think these look pretty cool and can look pretty cool in the house. Then I'll right click on the pattern, go to transform, go to scale, and make sure only the pattern option is checked, and adjust the scale accordingly. So I repeated this exact same process across all areas of the house, and this is the result. And by the way, I want to give a huge shout out to Thomas Roundtree for creating this awesome floor plan. If you want to use this same floor plan as a template, there will be a link in the description of this video. It's going to be completely for free. Now, we also want to make sure floor texture is not the most visually dominant element. So I'll select these pattern fills and lower their opacity to around 50%. And now the most important test, the 25% zoom. So just put your plan in 25% zoom, and if you can still read it, if you can still understand the space, then it's a successful plan. And at this point, you could print this out, place it in your portfolio, and it would hold up perfectly. But it still leaves one big question unanswered. Does it communicate atmosphere? Does it feel like a place? So level 2 is the upgrade that answers the next question. Can we add atmosphere and feeling to a floor plan? This is the version you want to use when you need someone to feel the project quickly for competitions, portfolios, or social media posts. The goal is simple. We want to make the plan feel like a place while keeping it readable. And we're going to do that with depth, tone, and texture. So first, let's import our base plan into Photoshop. And here I'll also import in a separate layer the topography of the site, and then a separate layer with only the furniture. Now the first step is creating tonal hierarchy, or adjusting your tone. So let's start from the outside with our topography. I'll grab my topography layer and duplicate it, just as a backup, and then I'll select the paint bucket tool. You can also press G on your keyboard, and with the contiguous option enabled right here, I'll begin painting each topography band with a green tone at about 40% opacity. Now the key trick here is slightly changing the tone for each topography layer. So I'll start with a light green and fill the first band. Then I'll drag the color sampler slightly down and to the right and fill the next band as well. And I'll repeat this process across all of the topography layers. So by moving diagonally in the color picker, we shift tone from light to dark and from desaturated to saturated, creating a very subtle gradient across the site that looks so good. So if things become probably too saturated or too desaturated, you can always press Ctrl U on your keyboard and adjust your saturation as needed. And I'll do this exact same step for all the different spaces. So I'll create separate layers for walls in a solid color, for the interior floors, the exterior deck areas, and the driveway. And at the end, your layer structure should look something like this. I don't want to see any lines in my project. I just want to see colors, shapes, and textures. So to add texture, you can use mixed concrete and paper textures. For free options, I always recommend that you can visit texturelabs.org, which is a really cool site, which has a large library of textures. Now I'll import one of these textures into a new Photoshop file and define it as a pattern. Then back in the original file, I'll go to Adjustments, Pattern Fill, and select the pattern we created. Then by holding Alt and clicking between the pattern layer and the topography layer, I'll clip the pattern so it applies only to the topography. And finally, I'll just set the pattern blend mode to multiply, and instantly the topography gains depth and texture that reinforces emotional reading. Now I'll repeat this same exact process for indoor floors, for the driveway, for the deck areas, and for the water areas, of course, and for the walls, the furniture, etc. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to introduce an accent color to highlight the main entrance and reinforce the building's focal point. Now I'll add shadows. These will help separate the building from the context and emphasize key elements in my drawing. So I'll create a new layer. I'll select everything outside of the building, and with a soft black brush at about 10% opacity, just like this, I'll paint around the house to create a subtle shadow halo, right? And I'll repeat this exact same process for the topography. Now, since I had some extra time, I also added interior shadows using the polygonal lasso tool, keeping opacity low so shadows could remain subtle. We don't want them to be the protagonist, but we want them to add depth to our floor plan. Finally, to add a conceptual architectural layer, I'll grab the walls layer, I'll duplicate it, I'll apply a white stroke in the blending options, and I'll reduce the fill opacity just so we see the stroke, right? Then I'll duplicate this same stroke and place this around the plan at a very low opacity. So this is a weird step, of course, but this creates a soft conceptual aura that enhances the graphic presence of the building, and if you can see it, it just looks so much better, right? So this type of floor plan reaches a higher level of complexity because it communicates what the building is, where it sits, and what moment you are emphasizing. But it still leaves the next question unanswered. What happens when this drawing needs to be edited, measured, scheduled, and treated as a real document in a construction site? Because obviously this is a beautiful image, but it's not a system. So level 3 is the highest level of complexity, not because it looks cooler, but because it answers the hardest questions. This is the version you use when you're delivering it to a consultant, you're coordinating a real project, you need revisions without rebuilding everything. Basically, this is the plan that can survive reality. So for this stage, I'll be using Rayon Design, a next-gen fully web-based CAD platform built especially for architects and for interior designers. Now, what I personally find interesting about using Rayon Design is that it removes a lot of the friction between drawing, documenting, and presenting, allowing everything to happen within one unified workflow. So the first step is organizing the plan into structured categories and layers, like this one. So you guys can see structure, you can see openings, furniture, annotations, and different site elements. And one of the advantages here is that Rayon Design allows drawing, editing, documenting, and presenting within the same environment, meaning that many steps we previously handled across Illustrator and Photoshop can now live inside a single platform. So I won't show you the entire modeling process from scratch, but this is how the plan looks like once we have the walls, the windows, and the doors defined. And to add furniture, I can open Rayon Design's extensive CAD block library, which includes thousands of blocks across plans, sections, and elevations. Now I can simply insert elements like these chairs directly into my layout. But what's particularly interesting is the AI integration. So if I copy, for example, a reference image of furniture like this one, and I paste it into my AI chat, and I select the generate product option right here, Rayon Design can convert that reference into a usable vector block inside of my drawing. So this allows obviously rapid customization without interrupting your workflow. Now let's add some patterns, right? So I'll select the zone tool, which is this one right here. I'll select the zone, and then I'll go to the fill edit, and here I'll select hatch. And here I can select the hatch style, right? So I can probably select this one, adjust the scale, and apply it across different spaces. Also, this tool will give me the ability to know the amount of square meters in each area. So at this point, the drawing contains structure, openings, different patterns, different kinds of furniture. It also has site information, but now comes the major pump in complexity, so which is dimensions, tags, and annotations. And this is where the drawing stops being purely visual and begins communicating measurable intent. Using the dimension tool, I'll start placing dimensions throughout the plan. And to keep annotation legible, I'll establish a color hierarchy. So I can select red as this highlight color for my dimensions, but I'm also going to use it for my tags, levels, and my axes, just so it kind of starts looking like this. And of course, setting up these styles manually can take a lot of time, but you can use this specific template from the Rayon template library and import it into your own project, copying the styles and applying them instantly across your drawings. Now let's move into schedules. Using Rayon Design's table tools, I can create model linked schedules, including, for example, I can select the ID, the preview image, the count, the area, and any properties that I want, and I can just include this into my floor plan, and of course adjust the style so it looks something like this. So suddenly the drawing becomes something that you can share confidently with your team. And finally, we have sheet composition. So in practice, drawings are rarely delivered in isolation. Presentation is part of the professional communication of a drawing. So I'll create a new canvas, insert a view, I'll adjust the scale and position of the plan, just like this, and add the sheet information, like for example, the title block, the drawing number, the scale, the north arrow, etc. A quick workflow that you can use here is using Rayon's design templates to insert title blocks and different structures that are already pre-made instantly. So because the platform is fully cloud-based, these sheets also benefit from real-time collaboration. And for an additional visualization option, I can quickly transform this floor plan using Rayon Design's AI tools. So by capturing a screenshot, I can select styles, for example, like clay model, and I can just generate an alternate presentation or an alternate image of this floor plan. And I can add a conceptual visualization layers directly into my sheet as well, of course. Now, at this point, the plan has transitioned from representation to documentation. It communicates geometry, data, intent, and context. And most importantly, it can evolve as the project evolves. And if you want to explore Rayon Design yourself, you can try it for free completely using the link in the description, or you can also try the template that Thomas Rauch created, and I will leave both of them linked down below. And now we can answer the final question of this entire video. How do you choose the right level of complexity? Use level 1 when you need clarity and speed. Use level 2 when you need emotion and storytelling, and use level 3 when you need precision, coordination, and a document that can survive revision and being in a construction site. The interesting thing is none of them are more correct than the others, right? They're simply answering different questions, because once you know that, every decision becomes obvious. And if you've ever struggled with knowing when your drawings are finished, let me know in the comments which level you tend to overdo: clarity, atmosphere, or precision. I'm really curious. And that's it for this video, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.